Hello everyone and welcome to the weekly Dartscast. It's Wim here from Holland and it's very cold outside. Here is even snow expected. So I would suggest you just stay in your warm and cozy house, grab a cup of tea and enjoy this episode of the weekly Dartscast, which is the best darts-related podcast on this planet. And it's time to meet your co-hosts, Alex Moss and Burton de Wit.
Hello and welcome to an episode of the Weekly Dartscast. Alex Moss here with a quick intro before we get into the show. You're going to hear from three guests on this show, three players that are all going to be in the final weekend of the development tour season this weekend and in the PDC World Youth Championship. First, you're going to hear from the UK Open semi-finalist from earlier this year, Keane Barry. Then you're going to hear from a player that's won 3 titles on the PDC Tour this year, 2 in the Challenge Tour, 1 in the Development Tour, Jurjen van der Velde. And then we'll finish up the show with our final guest, a player that won their first PDC title on the Development Tour earlier this year, in the top 10 on that order of merit going into the final weekend. You're going to hear from Conor Henegan. So let's get into the show. You're going to hear from Keane, then you'll hear from Jurjen, and then we'll finish up the show with our chat with Conor. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by one of this year's UK Open semi-finalists, Keane Barry. Thanks for the time again, Keane. How you doing?
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, I'm all good at the minute anyway, thank God.
Good to hear. Well, it's been a little while since we last had you on the show, just at the end of 2020, just before you made that second appearance at Ali Pali for the PDC World Championship. So you lost out on the opening night, but how did you find that Ali Pali experience second time round?
Yeah, it was tough. I think that was when I played, was it Jeff Smith, I think? It was tough because the way it was the COVID and there was only a small crowd there. It was the first day, but it was the only day the crowds were there. It was only a very slight few, so it was hard playing in front of that crowd because obviously every little shout things like this was hard to play in front of. But thankfully now this year, last year, was a bit better result for me. But sometimes you need them things, you know what I mean? Stepping stones. So.
Well, 2020, it was still a successful year for you, capped off, I'm sure you'd say, by winning our listeners' vote for the Weekly Dartscast Young Player of the Year. You went into 2021 with that tour card, but between Ali Pali and those first Pro Tours, did you have time to reflect on the success you'd had over the last few years to get to that point?
Yeah, it was kind of a bit surreal in a way, but like getting the tour card, it's kind of everything you dream of when you're a kid and you watch all these players coming through and you're watching them on TV and then all of a sudden then you're playing against them. So of course it was a bit to take in, but I knew myself that I knew I was good enough to be there, so I was happy to be there and just wanted to get the results and be there to take part and not just to be there to play and not just take part, you know, to get results and move up the rankings. So.
And as you touched on, at that time, still a few restrictions going around and we still had the blocks of Players' Championship events, the Euro Tour, Development Tour. They didn't return until much later on in the year. But being less busy, did that make it easier to settle in, or would you have preferred to throw yourself into everything right from the start of that first year?
I think it was hard and easy in if that makes sense in a way, because it was easy the way that the tournaments were on, say 5-6 tournaments in a row, and we had a bit of a break travel, like didn't have to travel so much and things like that, compared to this year where it was kind of a lot different for me. But no, of course when it was COVID with the tests and that sort of stuff, it was hard to play, and you're always going there and you were trying not to think about the possibility of testing positive and things like this. So at least this year that's all kind of mainly gone, so you can kind of concentrate just on the darts and be prepared for that.
Definitely. Well, when the Euro Tour returned, you made your debut out in Hungary and made it to the final day. What was that first experience like for you playing on the Euro Tour, and I guess with a good crowd again?
Yeah, it was actually great. I really liked Hungary, to be honest. I thought it was a great venue. The crowds was really, really good. I actually really enjoyed that tournament. Bet by I think it was Michael Smith in the last day, but I think it was my first Euro Tour, so I was even happy with that result. So it was great to just get to the Sunday, and if I have more events like Hungary, then it'll be great.
Well, you ticked off a few more major debuts at the end of last year as well. European Championship, the Players' Championship finals, and fair to say, tough draws in both of them in the first round. Rob Cross and Peter Wright, who both went on to win the titles those weekends, but you did push them both close. What did you take away from those games?
Yeah, against Rob, it didn't really get going in the Europeans. It was a bit unlucky. It was one of them games where we weren't really at it, so you just kind of put that to the side, to the back of your mind. But against Peter, it was just one leg that he broke the throw with a 10. I missed the bull for a 12. So it was them defeats are tough, but you take a lot from it, and you go forward and you just take everything from that game, and you take all the positives and just put them in the right direction. And I did. I went into World Championship was the next tournament, so I took really everything on board, and I put things right there.
Yeah, we definitely saw that. The year ends with Ali Pally, that third appearance. You notch up that first win, beating Royden Lamb, and 2 sets up. He brings it back to 2-2. You win the last set. What did it mean to you to get that first win in the World Championship?
Yeah, it was great. Just to get over the line finally. I did that the 2 years before that. I first round, so it was Royden's a great player, and I was 2-0 up at the break, cruising, and just never really kind of got into it. Royden played well. He had a couple of good finishes, but I kind of should have put it to bed a lot earlier than it was, and it never really should have got to 2-2 in sets. But that's just the way it goes, and I was just delighted to finally get over the line. It was just such a massive relief more than joy, but it was a good moment.
Well, we have to mention your game in the next round against Johnny Clayton, a record-breaking game as well. Just the 100+ checkouts between you and Johnny. He just pips you over the line, but despite losing, how much did you take from being in a game like that and performing as well as you did that night?
Oh, it was massive. It was massive. Now, to play so well on the biggest stage of all, I was delighted with. Of course, you're very disappointed losing, but it's probably the best I felt on stage. Everything just seemed to go right, going right. Went 2-1 up in sets, and I just think this is it now. But then Johnny just turned it on to another level, and maybe I dropped off a little bit, but there was a couple of missed doubles here and there, but he just turned it on, and I just couldn't just couldn't find the range I was finding beforehand. But that's the way it goes. But I definitely took a lot of positives from that, and starting off in this year, I had a bit of an up and down year, but for the start of this year, it really helped a lot. To even just have the confidence to just say, do you know what? I'm here to try and put it up to the best of them, and I have the game to do it. I just need to do it on a more consistent basis now.
Yeah, let's get on to this year and a return to the more usual schedule of the Euro Tour, where we've seen you a few times, and that game with Michael van Gerwen is one that sticks in the memory, pushing him close, and you've pushed a lot of these big boys close, and you do get a win over one of them just a few weeks later at the UK Open. But did you feel at that time like a win over one of the big boys was coming?
Yeah, it did. I knew I was playing well, and I knew everything was kind of I was practicing well, going to the tournaments, feeling well. The first game against Ron Muhlenkamp and Risa, played really well, felt good. I didn't really care that I was playing Michael, to be honest. It didn't really it's just, for me, it was just another game at that point. Of course, everyone knows what he can do, and there's no doubt about that. But you just have to get up there and just play your darts. But I think he had one big finish that again turned the game. And missed one or two doubles. Seems like a usual story, but no, it's the way it goes. But you just have to take all the positives from these results and just channel it in the right direction.
Well, let's get on to some wins that you've had, and there was plenty of them at the UK Open this year, making it all the way to the semi-finals. Some tough games on the way, and one that probably got lost in and amongst the madness that is that multi-board room was your game with Niels Zonneveld. 9-0, Niels sat on tops after 12, and you take out the 1-2-1 to win it in 12 darts against the throw. I mean, that must rank right up there with the best legs, best checkouts you've had in your career so far.
Yeah, it was crazy, to be honest. I went 7-3 up at the break, and came back out, and Neil just started putting things together, and he was doing the right things. I think he went 9-8 up, so I kind of just said to myself, just start getting your head in gear here. And I knew I had to have a good last leg, but when I was up against it with him having the darts, but I just said to myself, just leave it finish, and you never know what can happen. And I think it was either the treble 11 or the double 14. One of them was just stuck right in the corner, and I just couldn't believe it went in. It was great finish. It was a relief more than anything else, being 7-3 up to then be 9-8 down. So, but it was great. Even the atmosphere in such a small room there when there's I think it's 6 boards in it, but the atmosphere is unbelievable. So again, with everyone behind you, and it was a great moment.
A great win, and the wins kept on coming that weekend. You make it through to the final day, and you see off James Wade in the quarterfinals on the main stage, one of your biggest wins to date. What was that time like, though, I guess, in between winning that game, being on that high, and then getting yourself ready for your first major semi-final later in the day?
Yeah, of course. Like again against James, I just found everything was going for me. Just kept winning the mini sessions and big finishes going in, so I felt really good. And after that, then it was, of course, it was kind of uncharted territory for me in PDC, getting ready for a major semi-final. But I just did everything I did beforehand, even the days before. It's the same preparation, nothing changed. Again, it was just another game with just bigger stakes, but you still have to just treat it as another game. Don't try not to make too much of it, because then you start thinking silly things. But it's like everything stayed the same, and just towards the end of the game, Michael just turned it on again to a different level, and I just wasn't finding my range, and just he got the better of me.
Yeah, as you say, in that semi-final, Michael Smith really did turn it on. 109 average, I think, for the last 9 legs, so not many players could have kept up with him when he was playing like that. But I guess leaving Minehead after going on a run as good as that one, how did you reflect on it?
Oh, of course, yeah, I was delighted. I was absolutely delighted now. Like, the UK Open was a tournament where I didn't get past the second round, I think, in the 2 years I played in it. And I never really played well in it, so going over, it was actually just in my head. I just said, just want to play well here, get a few wins, get a nice run, and see where we go from there. And I did, and I was just delighted that I did it at that tournament, because it was actually bugging me now that I didn't get going at all in that tournament. So, and a semi-final, I would have took that on Friday morning all day.
You've definitely set the bar high for next year when that one comes round. And let's get on to this weekend, and an important weekend, those last 4 development tours of the year. And for you, you're going to be on the tour next year. You're looking good for Ali Pally, so I guess for you it's about trying to overhaul Josh Rock and get that top spot and get in the Grand Slam.
Yeah, like, of course, it's a bit of it's a tough task. I think I don't know how much I'm off. I don't really look at the rankings too much, to be honest. But I just know I'm going in there to win every tournament. That's my mindset going in, and I'm trying to win every single game possible. And I know I'm throwing well. Practice has been the best it's been for a long time. So it's I'm really confident going into this weekend, and just mainly for the rest of the year. So it's busy, but no, I'm looking forward to this weekend, and hopefully get a few wins under my belt. And you never know, we'll see on Saturday evening who tops the rankings.
Following the development tour this year, it has looked like one of the strongest years that we've had, with yourself winning multiple titles, Nathan Rafferty, and one of the new players, I guess, on the scene this year has been Josh Rock, who's made a big impression. What have you made of how he's come through the ranks? Had you heard much about him before Q School?
Yeah, I played against Josh a few years ago when we were youths, but he was never at the standard he is now. He's really turned it on, and he's really found his game as a player. So it's obviously it's good for him, and the standard is unbelievable in the development tour. If you take out the tour card holders between me, Josh, Nathan, and that, they're still, all the other players are still. It's just the standard I feel this year has been higher than it has been any other year. You're playing against lads and you might not even really know them too well, and they're getting 90, 95 averages, so you need to be on your guard every game, which is great to see, and hopefully continues, because the youths are the future. So hopefully now the high standard keeps up.
And the good thing for you is you're going to get a lot more goes at the development tour. Being only 20, you've got a lot more cracks, as well as at the World Youth Championship, which comes up this Sunday. You had a good run last year making the quarterfinals, but I guess given the experiences that you've got now and what you've achieved the last few years, how do you feel about your chances going into that event this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm playing well enough to win it. If I didn't think I was playing well enough, I wouldn't be playing in it. So my goal is always to any tournament playing is to win it. So just hopefully Sunday go in, and I'm just going to play my own game, and just do what I do, and try and take my practice game to the board. And if we do, then hopefully I'll be in the final in November.
And lastly, before we let you go, we saw earlier this year you got some new Tommy Hilfiger glasses from your sponsor Specsavers. We saw Neil Duff, the WDF World Champion, he got new glasses after he threw his ones on the floor after winning Lakeside. So have you ever thought of throwing your glasses off when celebrating a big win, or are they going to be staying firmly on your face?
No, they'd be definitely staying on my face. I don't need too many people to see me without glasses, so it'd be probably an unusual sight. But now, of course, obviously, after the World Championship, Specsavers got in touch and have sponsored me my glasses, sunglasses. They've been great, and all my other sponsors has been amazing. You know, a lot of local sponsors and a UK sponsor, and the support has been unbelievable. I just can't thank them enough, and it's amazing to have the belief behind me. So that really means a lot to me.
Good man. Well, Keane, it's always a pleasure to chat. We appreciate your time, and we wish you all the best for this weekend, the last development tours, the World Youth Championship, and what else is to come in 2022 as well.
No problem. Cheers. Thanks very much. Been a pleasure.
I'm pleased to say I'm joined by a two-time winner on both the Challenge Tour and the Development Tour, Jurjen van der Velde. Thanks for the time, Jurjen. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and we're only a few days away from the final weekend of the Development Tour and the PDC World Youth Championship. How are you feeling a few days away from what's going to be a big weekend of darts in Wigan?
I'm really looking forward to it, and form is good at the moment. I won 2 weeks ago, the Challenge Tour, and my second Challenge Tour this year in Leicester. So my form is good, and hopefully I can play like that this weekend.
And you're still only 19, but you've been making a name for yourself in the world of darts for a few years now. How old, though, were you when you first got introduced to darts, and how did that happen?
My first time, I think I was 13. And it's starting with my mental coach or something like that. He always went with me to the tournaments in England before I signed with Heneghan. And due to the coronavirus, it's happened to signed with Heneghan, and that's why that's the way how I play now, and I really enjoyed it on this moment. So hopefully we can go to play on the Pro Tour after this week.
Being from the Netherlands, obviously it's a big country for darts. Did you also watch a lot of darts growing up, or follow the professional game? Which players did you look up to?
It just started when I started to play darts at the age of 13. I saw it on TV, and I say to myself, I want to play darts, and that's how it started. I'm always watching videos of the darts, especially the World Grand Prix, and every Dutchman who plays on the World Grand Prix, I support him. So.
Well, in 2018, you won the WDF Europe Youth Cup Boys Singles. You also won the World Youth Masters, two of the biggest youth titles there is, and you beat one of your main rivals, Keane Barry, in a decider in both of those finals. How special were those wins for you?
There was two great moments, and it says for Keane is now a professional player, and that is the difference now at the moment, to hit the most important doubles on those moments, and I did it in 2018, and Keane did it in 2019 and 2020. So there were two great moments, of course, and I still enjoyed it when I watched back the videos, of course.
And that year finished with you playing on darts' biggest stage, Alexandra Palace, for the JDC World Youth Championship, and that was another title to your name. What was that experience like playing at Ali Pali?
That was a great experience. My first time on a big stage like that. I played there against Lennon Craddock. I played really well that week, so I can remember that. I beat some good players in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and we had one day to travel from Bristol to London, and that was a great experience with my coach on that time, Eric, and my mom and brother came over the same night, evening, to watch the final together. So that was really a special moment.
The next year, 2019, we see you make your debut on the development tour. How did you find those first experiences of the development tour, playing against the world's best youth players and some that already had tour cards?
I was really nervous on the moment, but because I just started to play on the development tour, and there were players like Max Hopp, and some good other players, of course. And I was really nervous the first year, but I still had some good performances. So it's all about learning in that year and the year after that, in 2020, of course. But I really enjoyed it. Learned much from it. So I'm now sixth or seventh on the ranking. So I learned much from it.
The next few years, they were obviously affected by the pandemic. A lot of stop-start, a lot of breaks in that time as well. For you as someone, you'd only just started playing and you were travelling, how was it for you having those breaks? Did you keep playing at home, or did you try and take some time away from the game?
No, I keep playing darts. Of course, I practiced much at home. I practiced with the online platform to play online against other good players like Gian van Veen. I practiced against Peter Jakes, who was also a player on the PDC Challenge Tour. I really enjoyed that in due to the coronavirus. I still didn't have school at that moment, so I had nothing other to do those days. So I was really happy to play online in 2021.
Well, let's get on to last year in the development tour. That was split between the UK and Europe, and in the first Europe event, you go all the way, you win the title, your first PDC title. What did that mean to you?
That was really great to win my first development tour against Bradley Roos. And I say to myself, if you can win this title, please do it. Maybe it's maybe you don't win anymore. So please win this game for this time, and then we can also go further this year with the title, of course. Maybe it's my first time, and do the title. I won in Niederhausen. I qualified for the UK Open later that year. So that was a great moment.
As you say, getting that title, that opened up a few doors for you. You got through to the second stage of Q School. You had the bye. You went there at the start of this year, and as you mentioned, also got into the UK Open for this year. Your first taste of a major in the PDC, which was back at Minehead with that full crowd, the multi-board room as well. How did you find those two experiences?
That was great. I played in the first round against Mickey Mansell. A lot of people say to me, you've got chances that game, Jurjen. So I practiced just like I do normal. So not to do a lot of pressure on myself. I played normal tournaments here, in my village, village, and in the local pubs, and just to prepare myself for that tournament, to just do normal. And I really enjoyed it, and I won that game I played well, 94, 95 average, I think. And the second game against Jim Williams, unfortunately I lost that game, but I really enjoyed it. My first time on the major tournament.
Well, not long after that UK Open, you win your second title on the development tour, and I was speaking with Gian van Veen, who also won on the European Development Tour last year, and he said himself that winning with the full field this year really did mean so much more to him. Were you the same?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, when it's split the development tours, it's always it feels not that in Europe we had Rusty Jake 1 year ago, but in England we have more better players like Keane Barry, Nathan Rafferty, players like that, and I really enjoyed it when it was again together. So we had more players in the top of the league. So it feels better, yeah. But a title, when you win, it's you won the title, and that's the most important thing, I think.
Definitely, yeah, and you've since gone on to win more titles, 2 of them on the Challenge Tour as well this year, and that's playing in a field with, I guess, more experienced players, still a similar setup to the Development Tour with the 5 tournaments in a weekend. But how much confidence did you take from those wins? Yeah,
that was also, I at the moment I play really well, so it's my standard of playing darts is higher at the moment. I can play. Normally I play around maybe 80, 85 average, but the standard is no 90, 95 maybe. So yeah, I really like that, and that's why I win some titles 2 titles on the Challenge Tour, because my standard is higher, and I can win from players like Alan Tabben and do some things on the important moments and hit some doubles on the important moments. And sometimes I forgot it on 2 years ago in 2018 when I played my first year on the Development Tour, and that's I play at the moment much better than that. Well, this weekend is obviously going to be an important one for you with the Development Tour, the last 4 events. You've also got the World Youth Championship as well, but next week, the following weekend, it's also the final weekend of the Challenge Tour, and you're well in contention on both of those order of merits. So does that take the pressure off a little bit this weekend, knowing that you're going to be back next week to try again, or is the focus solely on this weekend and seeing where you can finish? I have 2 chances, but hopefully I can do it this weekend. So it's for me better to relax a week. In a normal week I go to school, so when I get a tour card this weekend, maybe I go home on Monday. I go 2 days to school just to relax, to talk to my friends about it, and just to live the normal life, and then go back. So yeah, really looking forward to it. But it's just like a normal tournament for me. I am trying to do my best, and that's all.
Well, as you mentioned there, still at school, you're only 19, so there's a lot of years ahead of you. But what are the long-term goals for you in darts? Obviously, the tour card has got to be right up there as one of your aims, but where would you like to see yourself in, say, 5 or 10 years' time?
Hopefully I can get my tour card this weekend. I'm potential, I think I'm on the tour card, I don't know, but the top 5 has a tour card at the moment, and number 6 is Nathan Gerven, and I'm the number 7. But I saw on dartrankings.com I'm potential on it, but we shall see. I will do my best, and if I get my tour card this weekend, I will play 2 years on the Pro Tour, and we shall see what happens in 5 or 10 years. I hope I can play on the Pro Tour,
We shall see. Well, Jurjen, it's a pleasure to chat to you. Appreciate you taking out some of your time on what's going to be a busy next few weekends for you, and wish you all the best for this weekend, next weekend, and what else is to come in 2022.
Yes, thank you.
I'm pleased to say I'm joined by a former Development Tour winner, Conor Heneghan. Thanks for the time, Conor. How you doing?
Good now, and yourself?
Doing good, thank you. And we're talking just a few days before the final weekend of this year's Development Tour and the start of the PDC World Youth Championship. How are you feeling heading into this weekend?
Look, it's my last weekend, so I'll give it everything. Practice is going well, so we'll see what happens.
Well, we'll come back to this weekend later on, but let's circle back to the beginning for you in darts. How old were you when you got introduced to the game? How did you discover darts?
Well, I'd say I was about 6. I always kind of watched it. My dad used to play with a pub league locally here, and then my brother took it up more than anyone really. He played with Ireland and our county, and then I kind of started from there and made my way up. I played with my county Mayo, and then obviously moved on then and played with Ireland in youths, and now I'm thrown here today.
You mentioned your dad, you mentioned your older brother Martin as well, so darts obviously runs in the family. How much of an inspiration of those two been for you in your career so far?
Yeah, obviously Martin has done a lot in Ireland. He's done a lot kind of overseas as well. He's a former European champion in the WDF, so yeah, you kind of have to look up to him and then try and overtake him as much as I want to, so that's it.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started playing myself, it was always good to have my younger brother there for someone to play darts with. So did you and Martin always practice together, and if so, what were those games like?
We did practice a small bit together, not as much as we should have, but yeah, we practiced together. We still kind of meet up every so often now. Like, I'll probably practice with him tomorrow night before I go on Thursday, just to have a good game and a good practice session. So usually we'd practice maybe once a week, and then obviously we'd have tournaments at the weekends and stuff.
And I have to ask, whenever we get a guest on that's got a sibling or a family member that plays darts as well, who is the better player, yourself or Martin?
I'd say myself now, to be honest, but over the years it was Martin. He was always number one in Ireland and number one in Mayo, so I've kind of just taken over in the Mayo spot now, so I'd say myself at this minute of time anyway.
Well, let's get back to you then. And it was only last year we saw you play on the development tour for the first time. Did you consider trying it out earlier? What was it about that time that made you give it a go then?
Obviously I did, yeah. Before, I don't really know why I didn't go. I was kind of playing football and Gaelic football and soccer back home here, and I just never really intended to go. And then obviously I qualified for the Modus Online League, and then I got picked up. Jason Tame picked me up with Modus, and I've been going since, and kind of going over to England a good lot now the last year and a half.
You mentioned there the Gaelic football and the soccer as well. How far did you get in those two sports before you called it a down then?
I still haven't called it a day. I play Gaelic football a small bit here at home. I used to play semi-professional underage in soccer, and then I played an All-Ireland final in our school. We won that about 5 years ago, and I still play with my club, Hollymount Carmore, so I'm still playing with them today. So yeah.
Excellent, yeah, it's got to be keeping you busy. And looking back at that first weekend that you had on the development tour, you certainly made your mark. I was having a look, you had 2 wins against Ted Evitts, a win over Keane Barry at a quarter-final as well. What are your memories of that first weekend on the development tour?
Yeah, it was all new to me. I never in really a setup like it. It was really good. I just took it as it came, really. Like, playing the likes of Ted is a huge step from where I was playing at, and Keane obviously as well. Even though I knew Keane and everyone, but playing Ted was a good achievement, obviously, to beat him twice, and he went on then to actually win it all out. So it was good. It was a good stepping stone, and look, it helped me this year. Obviously, winning one and losing a final in another, I've gradually been getting better in them, so hopefully now this weekend I can go one step further and win it out. Just
looking back at last year, the next weekend that we had, you went one better, made a semi-final, and at the start of this year we see you went to Q School, and you mentioned it there, you've signed up with Jason Tame at Modus, and more opportunities were coming your way. But was it that experience of the development tour which gave you that urge to try out Q School this year?
Yeah, obviously with the Modus as well and the online league, it showed that I was kind of able to compete. So went to Q School and I gave it a good go. I won. Obviously there was the two we'll call it spells, the two different kind of things, one to get into the final stage and the first stage, and I won the first stage on the first day, so that was good for me. And then went in, and my first 2 days actually were alright. I was gathering points. I think I missed a darts beat Scott Waits on the second day, and then he went in got to the final and got his card basically from that. And look, I had a tough draw in the next 2 days. I got Robert Owen first round, and I got Leonard Gates. So I know my game was there to obviously get a card, but obviously it just didn't happen that weekend, and hopefully now I can either get it this weekend, or obviously I'll go back to Q School in January and see what happens.
Well, a few weeks after that first taste of Q School, you're back at the development tour. You make your first final, just losing out to your fellow Irishman Keane Barry in that last leg decider. How were you feeling after that run? Did coming so close to the title take some getting over, or were you quick to take the positives from the run?
Obviously it was disappointing to lose, but I could take positives. I bet a good few players along the way in that tournament, and Keane is very good. Like I was 4-3 up on him, and I said if I hold my throw, I have it here. And obviously I think he did back-to-back 15 darters, and that just showed he had a small bit more experience, I suppose, in that kind of situation. But obviously it was good to get to a final. It was good on the ranking as well for points, so I was happy enough.
Definitely. Well, you didn't have to wait much longer for that first title. It comes in May in the PDC as you win on the development tour in Wigan, winning the final 5-1. What was that moment like when you did get over the line and you had that first title in the bag?
Yeah, it was a bit of relief. Like, obviously that was my second final and I won it, and it was a tough final. Obviously it was a tough day as well because I played a lot of games that day, obviously winning, and then I went in straight away into the next tournament, which is tough. I wasn't kind of used to that, so look, it was good to win one anyways and say I have my name on one of them, so that was good.
Yeah, as you say, with the development tour, they are quite busy weekends, aren't they? 5 tournaments in one weekend, so it doesn't give you much time to reflect on things. But I guess leaving that weekend with the title, what did that win do for your overall game? Did you feel like it improved you as a player having won a title?
Yeah, obviously it kind of put me on the map as well in there. I went up the rankings high enough, and I'm still in an alright position this weekend to see can I still get a tour card out of it. So I'll be going there obviously on Friday and Saturday to try and win 1 or 2 again and see where it leaves me. So hopefully we'll see what happens.
And away from the development tour, a lot of our listeners will have seen you in the Modus League, which you mentioned. You threw a 9-darter in the old setup. More recently, we've seen you throw the first 9-darter in the new setup with the stage, and I think you touched on it there. You won through a qualifier to get that first taste of it, I think via MAD as it was known at the time. What persuaded you to give that qualifier a go, and could you have ever imagined you'd have had all them opportunities off the back of it?
No, I obviously watched when they were playing at home, and look, them qualifiers came up, and sure, once you were playing at home it was kind of easy enough, just enter it and see what happens. If you lost, you're still here at home, it's nothing, you weren't going anywhere to qualify for it. And luckily enough I got over the line that evening, and then it brought me on to better and bigger things now. I've signed a contract with Jason, and look, I'm over at Modus every few months playing development tours. So I have a lot on now. I'm travelling a good bit over to England and obviously Germany as well, where there was a few development tours. So it's been busy enough.
Well, back to this weekend, you're 10th on that development tour, order of merit heading into those last 4 events, but there's a lot of the players above you, they've got their tour cards already. Some of them, they're also in line for Ali Pali via other routes. Does it make it a little less straightforward to follow? How do you approach that, or are you just focusing on yourself and trying to win as much as you can?
Yeah, just look, I won't be looking at it too much. I'll go in and try and win the tournaments. That's all you can do, and sure, wherever it leaves me, it leaves me. I'll try my best anyway and see what happens, and then just move on to Sunday. The concentration will be different then. It's completely different. Basically, it's a tournament now that if you win it, you're a world champion and under 24. So look, I'll give it a good go and see what happens. Practice is going well, so we'll see.
Yeah, you mentioned Sunday. I'm sure a lot of the guys, yourself included, will have one eye on that event, the PDC World Youth Championship, and I believe it's going to be the first time you're playing in it. You last attempted it as well. How much are you looking forward to playing in that World Championship?
Yeah, look, it's great. Obviously, it'll be tough. There's a lot of good players in it. We'll see what happens. It's a tough little format, especially them groups of 3. You really have to start off well. I think I'll have a small bit of experience with the Modus, with the little groups, and watching what I have to do and what I have to do against other players and stuff. So look, it'll be interesting, but it'll be something I'll look forward to and hopefully do a good job and see what happens.
And lastly, before we let you go, looking further ahead, there seems to be a growing list of players from either Ireland or Northern Ireland getting tour cards now. What are your long-term goals in darts? Is it to get on the tour as soon as you can, or are you quite happy playing in as much as you can and developing as a player through other avenues as well?
Look, the overall aim is to get the tour card and play with the big boys, but listen, if I don't, there's still a lot of opportunities. That Modus, everything is increased in it, the stage now and everything. There's a crowd, and then I'd have challenge tours. I'd move into them and see how they go. So there's a lot to fall back on if you don't get your cards. It's not the end all anymore to get it, but if I do get it, look, I'll enjoy it and see what happens for the 2 years and give it a good go anyway.
Well, Conor, it's a pleasure to chat to you. Appreciate your time, and we wish you all the best for this weekend, both in the last development tour events for yourself and your last World Youth Championship, and what else is to come in 2022 as well.
Perfect. Thanks a million. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Keane, Jurjen and Conor for joining us, and a big thank you to our sponsor Dartwolf as well for their continued support as our sponsor of the show. If you want more dynamite darts content, head on over to dartwolf.tv and do give Dartwolf a follow on Twitter as well, at Dartwolf180. Thanks everyone for listening. We appreciate the support as always, and we may be back with another episode tomorrow as well. We've got a chat lined up with the PDC Chief Executive Matt Porter. Thanks everyone for getting in touch with your questions, so we're going to try and bring that one out for you this week as well, so keep an eye out for that. As Burton would say, hang tight for that episode, and then we'll be back next week with a look back at the World Grand Prix, a look back at the final weekend of the development tour and the PDC World Youth Championship, and discussing the two players that made the final. But until then, as Burton would say, hang tight, and as I say, enjoy the darts.